Vasudeva. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, thank you for joining us today. I'd like to seek the blessings of the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna, Srimati Radharani, Krishna Balaram, Gaunitai, Srila Prabhupada Guru Maharaj, and the assembled Vaishnavas, so that we can relish the nectar of the Bhagavatam. At least a quick overview of chapter 66, one of the funniest chapters in the Bhagavatam. Funniest chapters in the whole of the scriptures. It's so funny, it's so good. So this is one of the verses in this chapter.
So this is 24th verse. Sanityam Bhagavadhyana Pradhavastikila Pandana Briharnascha Re Rajan Swarupam Tanmayo Abhavat. Translation: by constantly meditating upon the Supreme Lord, Pondarik shattered all his material bonds. Indeed, by imitating Lord Krishna's appearance, O king, he ultimately became Krishna conscious.
Pondarik. Okay, very interesting, colorful character. Yeah, so I don't know. It's fine. No problem at all. Don't know what she means. So, this chapter, Pondarik, the false Vasudeva, relates how Lord Krishna went to Kashi, present day Vanaras, and killed Pondarik and Kashiraj, and how the Lord Sudarshan defeated the demon, incarcerated the city of Kashi, and killed Shudarshina. When Lord Balaram was visiting Braj, so that was yesterday. And yes, very, very challenging chapter to understand the activities of Lord Balaram. But of course, we are very limited in our capacity to understand the Supreme. But some of his activities are really out of this world. Now, King Pondarik of Karusha, encouraged by fools, announced that he was the real Vasudeva. Thus, he challenged Lord Krishna with the following message he sent to Krishna in Dwarka. Since this is Pondarik, right? I am the true personality of Godhead. You should give up your false claim to be this position, as well as my divine symbols. So he wants his divine symbols from Krishna. And he's saying to Krishna, take shelter of me. If you do not, then prepare for battle. There he is. Oh, Pondarik. So this message, it gets to Dwarka when Ugrasen and the members of the royal assembly heard Pondarik's foolish boast. They all laughed heartily. Sri Krishna then told Pondarik's messenger to convey a message to his master. O fool, I will force you to give up the so-called Sudarshan disc and the other divine symbols of mine you have dared to assume. And when you lie down on the battlefield, you will become the shelter of dogs. When the Lord had thus spoken, the messenger conveyed his insulting reply to his master in its entirety. And then Lord Krishna mounted his chariot and went to the vicinity of Kashi. Pondarik, seeing the Lord preparing for battle, quickly came out of the city to confront him with his 2 military divisions. I mean, the audacity of the fellow. Huh? His friend Kashiraj followed him, leading the rear guard with 3 Akshohini divisions. So there are a lot of people, a lot of big army. Lord Krishna saw that Pondarik was carrying the Lord's own insignia, such as the conch shell, the disc, the sword, and the club, and also an imitation charang bow and the Srivatsa mark. He wore a mock Kaustubha gem, was decorated with a garland of forest flowers and was dressed in upper and lower garments of fine yellow silk. So he really was trying to pretend that he was Krishna. His banner bore the image of Garud, and he wore a valuable crown and gleaming shark-shaped earrings. Lord Hari laughed heartily when he saw how the king had dressed up in exact imitation of his own appearance, just like an actor on stage. Yes, Daddy.
Yes, Prabhuji. He's carrying a sword. Krishna never carries a sword.
Sometimes he does. Sometimes he has.
Does he?
I mean, Vishnu, yeah. Maybe not Krishna so much.
Kalki.
Kalki has a
Kalki has
sword.
Kalki, yes, Kalki,
Oh,
because he carries a lotus flower, Krishna, usually.
Oh, the general symbols, yes.
Yeah.
But still within their armor, they keep the sword.
Okay.
Yeah. This sword is actually part of one of the, if you remember when we were doing the abodes of the Lord, all the different weapons are there. And sword is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. He always has the access to that if he needs it.
Okay.
But this is so funny, just incredibly hilarious. You know, how Pondarik has the audacity to, pretend he's the Supreme Lord. You know, this is how, the false ego acts. Was that okay, Naniman? Yeah.
Yeah, yes, Prabhuji, that's fine.
So here we go. There's who's a real who's the real Pondarik? Who's the real Krishna, and who's the real Pondarik? I presume this is Krishna. Oh, he's got the he's football. Yeah, I think he is. Anyway, Krishna, he laughed at him. Oh, I've already got that. Just as the fire of universal devastation destroys every living being in all directions, so Lord Krishna annihilated the armies of Pondarik and Kashiraj. Lord Krishna then addressed Pondarik, my dear Pondarik, the very weapons you spoke of through your messenger, I now release onto you, O fool. Now I shall make you renounce my name, which you have falsely assumed, and I will take shelter of you if I do not wish to fight you. Now, I think here Krishna should have played this a little differently. Instead of killing him, should have just slapped him a few times. And then whenever anybody wants a laugh, just let Pondarik have his little say, and then just give him a slap or two, and then let him come out again later on, another occasion. Pondarik was a comedian. He was so funny.
The jester.
Like
jester. Court jester.
Like the court jester. Gave everybody a good laugh. And I have to say, this chapter, every time I read it, it just cracks me up. Krishna, so having thus derided Pondarik, Krishna destroyed his chariot and then cut off his head with the Sudarshan disc. So disappointing. Just as Lord Indra lops off a mountain peak with his thunderbolt weapon. Because now this is the thing about the Lord. This is the extraordinary aspect of the Supreme Lord. This is why he's considered neutral. Even to his enemies, he's considered neutral. Because Pondarik had constantly meditated on the Supreme Lord, even dressing like him, he gained liberation. So, yes. No.
Yeah, this type of stories, they sort of reinforce my sort of assumption or my reality that Krishna is definitely 100% neutral. He doesn't have any enemies, doesn't have any friends. Whatever he does, it's just a straight path, and he doesn't judge. He doesn't sort of say any bad things about bad people or good things about good people. It's so neutral. I mean, this is a lessons that I'm learning from listening to this type of stories, Prabhuji.
Spot on. And this is exactly why this pastime has come, to show the neutrality of the Lord. Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely right. Because Pondarik was completely in Krishna consciousness, of course, in a negative way. He was considering the Lord his enemy. But as you said, Krishna is completely neutral. Even if you think about him in a wrong way, you're thinking about him. So that's purifying you. That's why he shouldn't have killed him. I mean, I would, if ever I get the opportunity, I'd love to convey this to the Lord. Just left him there. Let him give everybody a good laugh, you know, because in this world, one thing is lacking: laughter. Everybody's so serious, you know, and it's just, you got to laugh at this world.
Misery.
Yeah, you got to laugh because the things that happen, they're crazy things. If you don't laugh, you're going to cry. So.
And also, even if he's behaving like Krishna, the Sudarshan Chakra or his sword, they wouldn't have any ability like what Krishna's Sudarshan Chakra has. Yeah, and there's also, reading to the end of the chapter, there's quite a lot of violence and destruction.
Yeah.
That's somebody who's as stupid as Pundarik.
Yeah. But one thing, he did do a service to the Lord. He made him laugh. Not him only. Even in Dwarka, when the messenger came, you know, from Pundarik, they all had a good laugh. So, oh, I haven't changed this heading at all. Huh? Pundarik, seeing the Lord prepare. Oh, maybe it's exactly the same. Yeah, we've been through this already.
Yeah.
So this is the Lord with his conch shell. So amazing.
Just go back to reading.
Sorry. No, we've done this one already. Okay. So when Krishna, so he's defeated Pundarik. Now he defeats Pundarik's best friend, Kashiraj, with his Sudarshan Chakra. The king's head, when he chopped his head off, it went all the way to Kashi, or Varanasi as is known now. And when the Kashiraj's queens and children and relatives, they were wondering, what's this that's come into our kingdom? And eventually they recognized this is the head of my husband or my father or whatever. So then they, of course, began to lament, alas, we are killed, oh my Lord, oh my Lord. Having thus killed envious Pundarik and his ally, Kashiraj, Lord Krishna returned to Dwarka. As he entered the city, the siddhas of heaven chanted his immortal nectarian glories. At that time, a son of Kashiraj named Shudukshina wanted to avenge his father's death. So he began to worship Lord Shiva with the intention of destroying his father's killer. Now, Lord Shiva became pleased, gratified by Shudukshina's worship. Lord Shiva offered him a choice of benedictions. And Shudukshina, he asked for a means to kill the one who had slain his father. Now, Lord Shiva advised him to worship the Dakshinagni fire with black magic rituals. And this is one of the things why Lord Shiva is in charge of the mode of ignorance. It's not that he is in the mode of it, he's in charge of it. So when somebody approaches him, he won't try to persuade that person to change his desires. Because this is a really horrible desire. I want to kill somebody. That's really demoniac, of course. Complete mode of ignorance, darkness. But the thing with Lord Shiva is he won't persuade that devotee of his to change his mind. He won't try. That's just his character. He just won't do it. this Sudakshina, thus Sudakshina did with the result, this he did with the result that a fearsome demon with a body of flames appeared from the pit of the sacrificial fire. The fiery creature's beard and tuft of hair were like molten copper, and his eyes imitated blazing hot cinders. His face looked more frightful with its fangs and terrible arched and furrowed brows. The demon rose up carrying a fiery trident and at once set off for Dwarka. The residents of Lord Krishna's capital, Dwarka, became terrified as the demon approached the city. But Lord Krishna assured them of protection, and understanding that the monster had been produced by Lord Shiva from the sacrificial fire, Krishna dispatched his Sudarshan Chakra to oppose the magic creation of Lord Shiva. So again, we see Lord Shiva's power pitted against Lord Krishna's power. The Sudarshan, this weapon of Lord Mukund, blazed forth like millions of suns. His effulgence blazed like the fire of universal annihilation, and with his heat, he pained the sky, all the directions, heavens, earth, and also the fiery demon. Frustrated by the power of Lord Krishna's weapon, the fiery creature produced by black magic turned his face away and retreated. Created for violence, the demon then returned to Varanasi, where he surrounded the city and burned Sudakshina and his priest to death, even though Sudakshina was his creator. So this is what happens when the worship is done in the mode of ignorance. Not only is the person who's performing the yajna in a disadvantaged position, the person who's giving the benediction is also a disadvantaged position. And ultimately it'll destroy the person who's requesting that benediction. As we've seen, right? Ravan was destroyed. So many demoniac people wanting demoniac things. And what's the result? The result is always going to be destruction. Lord Vishnu's disc also entered Varanasi in pursuit of the fiery demon and proceeded to burn the city to the ground, including all its assembly halls, residential palaces with raised porches, its numerous marketplaces, gateways, watchtowers, warehouses, treasuries, all the buildings housing elephants, horses, chariots, grains. After burning down the entire city of Varanasi, Lord Vishnu's Sudarshan Chakra returned to the side of Sri Krishna, whose actions are effortless. Any mortal who recounts this heroic pastime of Lord Uttamslok, or who simply hears it attentively, will become freed from all sins. So this is the end of chapter 66, showing the power of Krishna, as always, far superior to anybody else. Any questions, any comments by anybody? Surinder, anything you'd like to add?
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Prabhu, Nitai Gaura Haribol. Sri Nityananda Chandram Patita Sharanadam Gauradam Tam Bhajeham. Yes, there is that's really funny about the Pandaka Krishna, this imitation Krishna. Similarly, in the Leela of our Param Gurudev Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur, there was a false incarnation, yogi, who pretended to be like the incarnation of Lord Krishna. And he had mystic powers. And because those time was British Raj, and therefore the British wanted to arrest him and put him into prison because he was using his mystic powers and cheating people and involved in illicit relations, etc. So then Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur assisted in the arrest of this false incarnation of Krishna, who actually had some mystic power. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, being a pure devotee, he managed to have him arrested. And then at some point he was brought in the court, and Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was magistrate of court.
Mm.
And he advised one of his friends, British friend, like when this yogi will be at the court, you go at the back and chop off his sika, the bunch of hair at the back. So chop off his sika, because he's got his mystic powers. As long as he has sika, he still has the mystic powers. So his sika was chopped off, and he was thrown into prison. And apparently, if I'm not mistaken, that false incarnation of Krishna, he committed suicide in the prison. So this is explained in the biography of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And then just like we have false Krishna, similarly we have the Sahaja group, we have false gurus as well.
Mm.
So there is one Leela as well. This one as well is a true account of one's false bogus guru. There was like one devotee, and he was initiated in the Sampradaya. I've forgotten now whether he was Gaudiya Math or Chaitanya Saraswati Math devotee, but he was initiated devotee, but his wife wanted to have initiation with a Sahaja guru. But the husband, he tried to explain to the wife, no, you have to properly take initiation with a proper bona fide guru, not anybody. But sometimes ladies are difficult to convince when they have their faith in some other stuff, you know. So what happened is that the Sahaja Guru had made arrangement to give initiation to the lady, the wife of the devotee. And this devotee, he sneaked into, he knows what will happen. So he sneaked into the room. So the Sahaja Guru will give initiation in his bedroom. So he sneaked into the room and hid in the cupboard.
Wow.
And then when the Sahaja Guru came, so the wife of that devotee also went there to take initiation. So they both sat on the bed, and Sahaja Guru held the hand of the lady and said, "To me, Radha, Amisham." And at that point, the husband who was hiding in the cupboard, he got out of the cupboard with a roar and he lathi his hand and he said, "Amar lathi to Balaram," and he gave a good beating to the Sahaja Guru. This is a true account. This happened, this lila. In this way, so we have seen that they are similarly like bogus incarnations, just like we have this Sai Baba, and there is another lady called Amritananda Mai. She claims to be also incarnation of Durga, Krishna, etc. So everywhere we have these cheating propensities. But if we take a proper shelter of Harinam and Hari Guru Vaishnava and Nityananda Prabhu, then we'll be saved. Nitai Gaura Haribol Prabhu, thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, very nice you've shared those pastimes. And the song that we sang today, or rather Karuna Banda sang, also described how Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes the Sahajas, you know, pretending to be devotees, but actually they're envious of Krishna. So thank you. Very good. Riansh.
Yes, Prabhuji. Ravachi, I have a doubt that when I attended another class, they were telling Poundraka story, and then they told that after Poundraka was delivered, he took
Yes, you're right. You're right. He took a form of Vishnu. He attained the Swarupya Mukti. Yeah, well done. Yes, that's correct. Well done. I forgot to mention that. Yeah, well done. Very good. Very good. Thank you for sharing that, Rianj. Okay, so let's go to instructions by Madhusan Prabhu.
Hi, Haribol. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, yeah, it's a hilarious chapter in a way, but seriously, in a way, it's quite sad because Pundrik, was desiring sort of to become Krishna, or rather, he thought he was Krishna. But then also, it shows the position. The Lord Shiva. These are all demons who are worshippers of Lord Shiva, and because Lord Shiva is very easily pleased, and also he gives the boons very easily as well, doesn't consider the consequences of those boons as well, but he does, and then somehow Krishna has to resolve it, or there is a reason why that boon is been given by Lord Shiva to teach those demons a lesson. But then ultimately it's the demons' salvation as well, because Krishna does want these demons to come back. I mean, we see in the example of Pundrik then, so in this chapter, we learn the extreme of foolishness in Pundrik and the outcome of flattery by his close associates. So, we got to be careful of, somebody who's flattering her too much, trying to boost our own ego. And we might get so kind of carried away with that, those flattering words can give us problems as well. Or rather, so Srila Prabhupada writes as follows in Krishna, the book, that as far as Pundrik was concerned, somehow or other, he was always thinking of Vasudev by falsely dressing himself in that way. And apparently the reason why he was dressed up like this is because it was Lord Shiva's benediction. Again, Pundrik was he was a devotee of Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva had given him that benediction that he could dress and look like Krishna completely like that. So dressing himself in that way, and therefore Pundrik achieved Swarupya, one of the 5 kinds of liberation, and was thus promoted to the Vaikuntha planets, where the devotees have the same bodily feature as Vishnu, with 4 hands holding the 4 symbols. Factually, his meditation was concentrated on the Vishnu form, but because he thought himself to be Lord Vishnu, he was offensive. After being killed by Krishna, however, that offense was also mitigated. Thus, he was given Swarupya liberation, and he attained the same form as the Lord. Also, the avenging outcome of Sudakshina and Lord Shiva's position in these pastimes are quite interesting, because Sudakshina, again, he just wants to revenge. Again, he's worshipping Lord Shiva and he gets a boon from Lord Shiva that, whoever killed his father, he can avenge and kill that person. But obviously, Lord Shiva gives a boon in such a way that, you have this boon and you can kill whoever you kill your father, as long as they're inimical to the Brahmins, So it is clearly stated here that the powerful Dakshinagni fire could be directed only against someone unfavorable to Brahminical culture. Lord Krishna, however, is the most favorable to the Brahminical Brahmins, and in fact maintains the Brahminical culture. So Lord Shiva thus knew that if Sudakshina attempted to direct the power of his ritual against Lord Krishna, then Sudakshina himself would be perished. So in a way, it's kind of backfired on himself. It's interesting, but it's quite hilarious. But then again, you know, there are those people who kind of claim Lord Shiva to be the Supreme Lord, and then, so you know, it's out of ignorance, you know, sometimes, because we are fortunate that, you know, we have clear kind of understanding from Srila Prabhupada. He explains the position of all these demigods, even Lord Shiva. But Lord Shiva is as good, but he gives it benediction for a reason. There must be a reason, and it becomes clear. So I hope that helps. Okay, Haribo.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Madhusubho. That's very interesting what you just said. Anybody else? Any questions? Any comments?
Oh, Prabhuji,
Yes, Nariman.
you know, after the 5 types of the mukti, sometimes I just cannot remember those 5 types. I cannot.
Ah, yeah.
So is it possible for you to put something on the
Yeah.
on our group?
Yeah. We can definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
What are the 5? Let's have a little brainstorm. One is looking like the Lord. One is living with the Lord. Surupa Mukti. I can't remember the names now. Rianch, do you remember? He's our brains, you know. He's so good.
Yes.
Yeah.
There is Salokya Mukti. Same
Yes.
Same.
Salokya Mukti, we'll take, we get liberation, we attain the planet of Lord Vishnu.
Yeah,
Same
same
planet,
planet, live with the Lord. And then there's merging with the Lord. That's one of them, which is the one that we, you know, is regarded as actually not desirable at all. So that's 3. Can't remember the other 2. Yeah, good point, Naniman. We'll try to dig that out.
Yeah, I can never remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's
Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.